Hello, welcome back to the interface. My name's Alex, and today I'm at the UK launch of the brand new KGM Actyon. Now this is very related to the KGM Torres, which I reviewed on the channel around this time last year. Now this one is a little bit bigger than the Torres in various different ways. It's a little bit lower, a little bit wider, and also a little bit longer too. The styling is very similar to the Torres, so you can see the front end here is kind of loosely related to it really, and there's lots of similar things as well, especially these bonnet attachments as well. Now this has a starting price of $36,995 in the UK, and weirdly KGM is not launching this as a hybrid or an EV, especially with all the stuff with the ZEV mandate at the moment. Now I find it very strange that they're not launching an EV version, so I'm hoping that they will do in the future. For the front design of the Actyon, it's a very similar design to the Torres SUV. This front section here with the LED light bar is kind of in between the EVX Torres and the Torres Petrol. Also, the light design here is pretty similar too, as well as a lot of the section down here too. Now for the colours of the Actyon, they're mostly sort of earth tones. There's no real bright colours apart from white, so sort of green, blue, and also this forest green. Most of them are, as I said, quite an earthy sort of look. Nice sort of side profile here with some black contrasting down the bottom. And then for the alloys, KGM are only offering one option. They're 20 inches and diamond cut. And also what's quite nice is that they have gone for some quite premium tyres. These are Michelin noise cancelling tyres as standard, which is really good to see. Around the back, the Actyon looks very similar to a Range Rover Sport, I feel. Definitely this shape here with the sort of the arch on the window, and we have got this very similar sort of light bar as well with Actyon spelled out in letters. The boot here is electronically openable, which is quite nice. You can also kick your foot underneath. I find most cars it always takes 2 or 3 tries to just press the button really, and there is a button under there. Pretty good amount of space in there really, 668 litres of boot space, and just like the other KGM models, you can open the boot from inside the boot, which is quite a nice feature. And there's lots and lots of space, and we have also got a sort of a temporary load cover here with a bit of polystyrene underneath too. For the front interior of the Actyon, we've actually got a good sense of quality, especially when compared to the existing Torres and Torres EVX. One area where they have improved is the steering wheel. So this one is a lot more sculpted in its design than previously. The Torres had quite a pickup style steering wheel really, and this one's a lot more soft, a lot more comfy. And we have got some nice additional usability improvements. So obviously everything is on the touchscreen, including the air conditioning, but we do have some favourite buttons down here. So there's a nice big button here with a star on it, and you can customise that to do various things, such as launch the climate control or launch Apple CarPlay, which is quite nice. There's a lot of amenities too. So 2, again, decent sized cup holders, a nice shelf down here, 2 USB-C ports, and just like the back, these are both 27 watts in power, which should power up most devices no problem. For the screens, we've got a nice big array of screens. We've got 12.3 inches for the infotainment, and then 12.3 inches for the driver, and these do respond in a fairly good manner. So this one has got support for TomTom SatNav, and as I mentioned, all the air conditioning controls are actually on the touchscreen still, much like the Torres as well. Just down here, there is a wireless phone charging pad for your phone, and a decent sized storage bin for your items. In the back of the Actyon is actually a really good amount of space. Now I'm around 5'7" in height, and I do have a really decent amount of legroom here really, and actually a surprisingly good amount of headroom. This one doesn't have a sunroof, so you're going to have a little bit more headroom than usual too, and the back seats are actually surprisingly comfortable. In the back of the Torres, I remember that being quite a little bit bare bones in terms of the sort of the comfort of it, and this is definitely a big step up in that regard. There's a lot of amenities too. So for example, the passenger seat has electronically adjustable controls here, much like a Genesis does. You can move the front seat out the way if you need to as well. And there's also 2-stage heated seats and also some blinds as well, which is pretty good. There is a fold-down armrest here with 2 decent-sized cup holders. They are a strange shape though, so I'm not sure how some cups will get on with that. But what I found really nice as well is there's 2 USB-C ports here, both of which are 27 watts, and you can charge a MacBook off those no problem, so that's pretty good as well. Because this is a combustion car as well, we do have a sort of a hump in the middle. It's not too large, but it might be a bit of a problem for middle seat passengers as well. Now this new Actyon feels a lot more sophisticated when you drive it down the road compared to its quite well related Torres. Now when I drove the Torres in 2024, it was quite notable that the driving dynamics of it were quite unfinished in certain scenarios. So you're driving along the road, and just to get it in a straight line, you'd have to keep adjusting the steering wheel and just keep sort of having a nip and tuck at just the wheel and trying to keep it along the road properly. The Action, while it is related to that Torres, it seems that KGM have done quite a lot of under the surface work to make it a bit of a more rounded car, and it definitely feels like it. If you go down the road, the wheels completely just acts like a normal steering wheel, really. The ride also is a lot better as well. The Torres, both versions actually, the petrol and EV, were a little bit jiggly on the road and just a little bit unbalanced, and this one definitely feels a lot more premium in terms of that regard, really. Now, one aspect where the Torres and the Action are relatively similar is in their efficiency and fuel economy. When I reviewed the Torres petrol version in 2024, I remember mentioning that it was getting sort of 33 mpg, and that's what this is getting, really. So they haven't made any improvements in that regard, so it's going to be quite expensive to run on fuel, really. One quite nice software thing that KGM have done now on the new Action is they have relocated some of the buttons for the warning systems, like the speed warning and different things like that, to the touchscreen, and in a shortcut mode. So if you swipe down the touchscreen, there's two quite easy to access buttons. You can turn off some of the most annoying systems in 1 or 2 clicks, which is quite nice. One thing you'll also notice is that while the Action is quite a heavy vehicle, KGM haven't fitted an overly powerful engine in this. So while it is getting average fuel economy, there isn't that trade-off in terms of a lot of power. It's like a 1.5 litre petrol engine with not a massive amount of power, and it's about 10 seconds 0 to 60, which really isn't that quick. But if you readjust your expectations and plan ahead when you're accelerating and overtaking, I think you'll be absolutely fine. So usually on these launch events, you have to get in the car with someone else. And thankfully, Jim Starling was at the event with me. So if you watched the Charging Status podcast or listened to the Charging Status podcast, you'll know Jim Starling from that, or his channel, Definitely Not a Guru. So, hi Jim.
Hello Alex, how are you?
I'm alright, thank you.
We're being nice and natural, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, it's not like we're on camera or anything.
So how's the Torres, how's the Action? Actually?
The Action, yeah. I think it's really good. I mean, literally from the off, it just felt like a much more sorted car, I think, than we experienced with the Torres. But I think it's probably unfair to just keep talking about the Torres.
I suppose it is.
I think when you compare it to other cars in its class, it just keeps up with them. I don't think you'd get in this car, and I mean the Sportage is a brilliant piece of kit. It's a brilliant car. It's won loads of awards. I don't think this particularly feels any worse than a Sportage.
No.
It's got plenty of spec on it.
Well, one thing KGM mentioned is that because they import it into the UK, they haven't bothered giving people the choice of different options. They just loaded it full of kit.
Yeah.
And it's really plush, and the level of quality in here is really good, I find, as well. So
yeah, some of the materials are quite interesting as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not just your typical, like I was saying earlier, instead of a lot of cars have that piano black on.
Oh yeah.
And in this they've gone for this sort of carbon fibre stuff instead, and you've got the wood on the dash, and it just, I don't know, it feels like a bit of thought's gone into it, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I quite like the sort of the red stitching as well, and the red seat belts. It's a bit of a sporty feel, and yeah, pretty good. The only thing that's disappointing is they haven't bothered with the EV version this time around. At the moment anyway, it's just a run-of-the-mill engine with
which is like the main downside of this car is the MPG figure's a bit pants, and you know it wouldn't hurt it to have a bit more power. Although I think for this kind of car, realistically, most people are going to find the power completely adequate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wouldn't hurt it to have an extra 20 or 30 brake horsepower. And obviously, if you went for the EV version, if there were one, it would eradicate both of those issues immediately, because you're going to have lots of torque from the off, and there's no petrol to go in it, so you don't have to worry about how much petrol you're using.
So that's been a look at the brand new KGM Action. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with this new car from KGM. Definitely a massive improvement over the smaller Torres. I've been Alex, and I'll see you again next time.